Good day, spiritual artists. This is CJ Miller, the host of the Spiritual Artist Podcast. I am sitting in my studio today and I'm trying to finish this very complicated round painting. I've never done a round painting before and it's keeping me guessing. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something I discovered and want to share with you. First, I want to talk about this book. It's called Point Zero: Creativity Without Limits by Michèle Cassou. I did reach out to the author of this book and three times on their website because I'd love to have her on the podcast. I haven't heard back, no response from their form on their website, but I have gotten the book and I'm reading the book the second time around. And I wanted to share a concept that I really love in her book. First of all, if you've been following my podcast, you know that my book, The Spiritual Artist, is about the beginning process of when you create art. I'm working on how do you set yourself up consciously before and during creation. Her book's a little different, and I like it. And I want to share this concept that she teaches in this book. There's many, and it's a great book. I'm not sure it's still being published, but you might find some used copies on Amazon. But she talks about the challenges you have when you hit a block when you're painting. So her focus in this book obviously is not so much on how do you start the painting, but it's how do you keep going. So let's talk about this a little bit because I love this concept that she shared in here. She talks about learning to ask yourself the right questions. That's right, learning to ask yourself the right questions. And so when you hit a stopping point, you need to sit down and ask yourself, what's holding me, or maybe be more insightful and see what's holding me back. What do I think is holding me back in my process right now? And by focusing on what's holding you back, you actually can create or build the proper question to ask yourself. So it's a little tricky to get your hands around, but let me tell you how it worked on this round painting. So I've been working on this painting for 2 weeks now, and I love it because I keep rotating it, and I have different objects that appear to the top of the painting as I turn it. Okay, listeners, this is the painting that I'm working on that I practiced Michèle Cassou's method on. It's a 52-inch round piece of board, and I wanted to challenge myself by painting in a circular fashion. I have never painted a circle before, except for some mandalas that I did at my most recent art retreat. And so what I found fascinating is I started this with my typical asemic expressive marks, and I just did free marking and then started isolating colors and shapes. And I let things rise to the surface. I let shapes and rise to the surface. So it was kind of a surprise to me what rose. But I was having a block in the upper left corner of this painting. I saw a figure there that I thought sort of looked like a bat or something foreboding, and I didn't want to lose it. I got caught up on meaning. The dragon of meaning was holding me back. It wasn't looking right. I knew it wasn't feeling the flow of the rest of the work, but I didn't know how to fix it. So I kind of used her theory here. And she says that when you ask yourself a question, let me read this to you. You make it out of the block, like we just said. What is blocking your creativity? So the block, the thing that's blocking you is reversed and opened up to give you permission to create from a deeper level. You must always build your question out of the block itself, out of the judgment or fear that prevents you from creating. That's right. She says you must build your question out of the judgment or fear that's keeping you from finishing or continuing on in a painting. So I sat there and I thought about this round painting and I thought about that area specifically. What part of the painting was holding me back? Why was I resistant? It didn't take me long to realize that why I was resistant is there was a shape that I had found in the work that I thought was interesting. I thought it had some message to it. It had some subconscious sharing of the process that I'm going through right now. And I didn't want to disturb it. I didn't want to lose that. So I asked myself this question: what would happen if I let go the need to keep that part of the painting? What would happen if I let go of the need to keep that part of the painting? And then I had this aha moment that if I didn't care, if I didn't hold tightly, if I wasn't sticking with what is already working, I could release myself and I immediately felt freedom in my body. And that's what's so neat about this technique of Michelle's is it's about that freedom that you find. It's about the feeling of freedom. You always focus on the feeling. So, feeling the block, I was held back. I was frustrated. I was resistant. When I asked myself the question, what would happen if I let that part go? I suddenly felt a freedom. I grabbed a piece of chalk and I drew what I wanted to do with it. Now, I told you this in a previous episode. Chalk is a great way to make marks on your painting if you're still afraid. And maybe that's not good. Maybe I should have just freely taken a brush and I will work toward that. But I took a crayon, I'm sorry, I took a piece of chalk and I drew what I wanted to do in that area. And suddenly I was like, I let go of the need to keep the part of the painting as it was. And suddenly it opened up new doors. You know how it opens up new doors? That new shape that I drew suddenly led me to other shapes and other changes in the composition. Suddenly, that whirling space, which you can see kind of going up right above my finger here, that whirling space is opening him up to, oh, how do I work that into what's there already? How can I blend? How can I weave? And suddenly, I'm off to the races again. I'm going. This is a great concept that she talks about, how to build questions. And she talks about the need when she was a teacher that she would teach workshops and people were always free in the workshop. But then when they got home, back to their own studio, they froze because it was her they were relying on. This is how you can rely on yourself. I thought this was a fascinating concept. Think about it. Try it with yourself. When you hit a block on your painting, ask yourself a question and don't ask what's holding me back. Ask more for the feeling behind it. And this is a tricky thing. This is a tricky thing. Your question should always open up, not close down. So it needs to be a little specific, I think. It needs to be specific in sense, I was like, what part of this painting, why can't I let go of it? Why am I stuck here? And I realized it was my need to keep something good. And we talk about this in painting all the time. You have to be willing to lose the beautiful things. I try to save them. I try to isolate little areas that I like that I think are beautiful, and I try to save them to the end. And about half of them, maybe not even that much, 35% of them make it to the end. Other ones, they're in the wrong place. They don't work with the composition. They don't work with the feeling that I have, and I take them out. But you always have to be willing to let go of something. So this activity of hers is really great in the sense that it keeps you flowing. And this is actually an activity for life, right? And that's what I love about spiritual consciousness, working on the spiritual level. I like to teach you ways that you can use something in the art studio as well as use it in your life. So if you're in your life and you're kind of feeling blocked, you're not moving, ask yourself the question, what would happen if I left this job? What would happen if I was willing to date someone else? What would happen if money wasn't so important to me? What would happen? See how it opens up things for you? What would happen if I decided to eat right instead of eating pizza and fries and potato chips? There's the question, asking yourself the right question. What a great concept. Um, I really, really was impressed with this concept. The more I think about it, the more I will love to use this in the studio and on my retreats. And when someone hits a block, help them to formulate the right question. Here's the trick. You got to do it yourself. You've got to be reflective, intuitive, and thoughtful enough to find and sense what it is that's holding you back. If you just deny it, if you just don't look at it, if you don't walk right into the problem, you have to walk right into the problem, be willing to examine it full front, whatever that is, whatever's freezing you in action. Maybe you're bouncing between two career choices and you're not sure which way to go. You have to face that. Why? What is holding me back? It might be money. It might be prestige. It might be location. But ask yourself the tough questions. What would happen if I could live anywhere? What would happen if I didn't care where I lived? What would happen if I didn't have to live near my family? All these things open you and they challenge you spiritually. And the same thing with the painting. Next time you're working on a painting, look at it. And if there's an area of your painting that you don't want to put something down, don't force yourself to do anything. Don't force yourself to do anything. Okay, now Michelle outlines three things that are the main categories that hold you back, three judgments. She calls them dragons, and she uses sort of this storytelling metaphor. The dragon of product, and that's the need to make something done, make it look good, to finish it, to know how it will look ahead of time. When you're working on an expressionist painting like this, you can't know where it's going to end. You have to let it tell you where it's going to end. In this painting, I'm letting it come out. And what happened was funny was it started to turn into some really great things because I let it go. And then I started to try to control it. Then I stepped in and said, oh, this has a theme. I need to keep with the theme. I need to. Do you see how I was holding myself back? It started having some subject matter that I started telling a story about it. Don't rush to the story. Let the painting happen. The story can come later. In fact, there is no story. The story is going to be different for everyone. The story will be something that's expressive and personal to you, and it will mean something expressive and personal to whoever sees it. So when you fall into the trap of the dragon of product, your fear is telling you, oh, this has to be finished by 3. Oh, what if I get this done? How can I sell this? Do you see what I mean? So the dragon of product. Second, she calls it the dragon of control. The dragon of control, and she says, this dragon guards the doors of the unknown by using fear. It feeds on your lack of trust in your spontaneity and fear of changes, and tries to convince you that you must control it all the time. That's what I was doing, right? I started trying to control the narrative, and I just need to let the painting unfurl. And it's still unfurling. It's not there yet. I need to let it go until it's done. So avoid the dragon of control. The third is, this is wonderful, the dragon of meaning. It wants you to analyze your creation and assign meaning to everything you paint. It prevents you from exploring your feelings at deeper levels and entering the mystery of your life. So sometimes, and I talk about this, I call it being in the gap. Michelle's term, actually, she has is point zero. Her point zero is what I call being in the gap. Being in the gap is in that place where of all possibilities, and that's her point zero. It's where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to end. You don't know what colors. I still am not sure what color palette this is going to end with. It's frustrating, but sometimes being in the gap is about ignoring the frustration, ignoring the need to control the product, control the look of it, and control the meaning. Just let it go. Just let it unfurl naturally. I thought it was a great idea. So I hope you can start crafting these sentences and these questions yourself when you're painting. If not, what I'd love to have you do is in the comments section here, I want you to write what's holding you back. Write a question and let's talk about it. So go in there, look at what you're working on, and then write down, I think this is holding me back. And let's see if that question is good, can be tweaked, or if it's going to lead you to the freedom of expression, the freedom of a spiritual artist. So this is going to be my last podcast for a month. I am actually going to Santa Fe for a month retreat. I'm just getting away from it all. I've rented a house out there. You know, I love Santa Fe. I'm going to be teaching a class at the Santa Fe Artisan Store 3 days in the third week. But mostly I'm just going to be sitting down and being present, thinking about my direction, my life, just being in the gap. So I encourage all of you this summer to take time, whether it's a mini vacation, a weekend, a day off, or even a month, and just be in the gap in your life. Don't try to assign meaning. Don't try to control it. Don't be concerned about the product. Just let yourself be in this place of play, this place of opportunities, this place of all possibilities. This summer, be in the gap. I will join you back in August with fresh podcasts. I have someone lined up. We're going to talk about AI and how you can use it. I'm very excited, and some other wonderful interviews. So go out there, enjoy this practice. Ask yourself questions when you hit a block. Asking the right question will open you up to freedom. Have a great summer. Be a spiritual artist. And also, don't forget, you can always buy my book, The Spiritual Artist. It's on Amazon. It will teach you the consciousness to get started with myasemic writing techniques. And then point zero, this book from Michèle will help you when you hit a block. Talk to you soon, and I'll see you in August. Be a spiritual artist.
Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.